maybe I was so like bummed that none of them got their megas, and then I saw Try, and it was like maybe it was okay that they didn't get their megas.
Pew pew! Pew pew! Run, 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 run. Welcome to Podages, your critically nostalgic analytical tour through Digimon anime. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 17, The Battle in Tokyo against Orochimon. And my guest this week is a pixel artist, illustrator, and graphic designer. He's probably most well known for pixel art renditions of queens from Drag Race as Pokemon trainers, but he's also done lots of great Digimon art that you've probably seen around the internet. Thanks for coming on the show, Sindre. How are you today?
I'm doing very good, thank you, Jeff. How are you?
Good, good. This wasn't my favorite episode of the show, but I'm excited to have you on to talk about Digimon nonetheless.
It's interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of things to talk about as well.
I'm more excited to talk to you than to talk about this episode, so
I'm just excited to be able to talk about Digimon for like an hour.
So I have a couple questions that I ask every guest person that come on. So first off, how'd you get into Digimon?
With Pokemon, I can remember watching the very first episode on TV because I feel like it was like this big event, but I don't have the specific memory of watching like the first episode of Digimon. I'm guessing I watched one of like the 12 first episodes, like the Devimon arc, on most likely like a Sunday morning cartoon block on a channel, and then I kind of like I was aware of the franchise because you kind of saw the toys showing up in toy stores, and there was the game like Digimon World for the original PlayStation, and then I kind of just like, this is really cool, and then I got to like really experience the whole show by watching it. I think I started like watching probably like at around like the Edamon arc. I started watching it every single week, and then from then on I was hooked.
So some of our listeners, and me included, might not be familiar with how Digimon was, how popular it was in other countries, and you're from Norway, right?
Yeah, correct.
So how popular was Digimon in Norway?
I think it was perceived as like a Pokemon ripoff, which is probably true for the rest of the world. But I remember like I feel like maybe Pokemon was kind of like gender neutral. I remember a lot of my male friends loving Digimon, not as much my female friends. But it was like semi popular, I guess. We only got the first 2 seasons dubbed in Norwegian. They never aired Tamers or Frontier here in Norway. Which is kind of like strange. I remember they might have, I think they published the comic book version of Tamers in Norway in like the Fox Kids magazine, but that's about as much of Tamers we got, and we got the movie, of course.
So were you mainly watching the Norwegian dub, or because from what I've seen following you on Twitter and Instagram, I kind of got the impression you were mainly familiar with the English dub?
I think I watched the Norwegian dub growing up, and I think the reason I like the English dub is because the Norwegian dub is very closely based on the English one. It's like it's a pretty like 1-to-1 translation, so I get like the same sort of feeling, and I get the nostalgia with like the Saban soundtrack and everything. So the English version gives me just the kind of like same feeling of nostalgia, because the Norwegian dubs it's basically impossible to find anywhere, because I think we got a VHS release of the Devimon arc and the movie, and that's basically it.
Oh wow! So it's just like lost to time.
Yeah, I found some clips of Adventure 02 on YouTube, on like Norwegian, and it was both better and worse than I remembered. There were some strange choices. There was like Cody's grandpa had a really like high pitched voice, and for some reason Ken, once he stops being the Digimon Emperor, starts talking like half Norwegian, half English, which isn't. It's a very. It's like because with it's. As far as I can remember, no other Norwegian cartoons did that, and I have no idea like what their justification for doing that was.
That's weird.
But yeah, so that's like I'm currently like scoring the internet for any Digimon Adventure VHSs in Norwegian, just because I wanna try watching an entire episode and just like seeing how it stacks up to the English dub. I was convinced that we kept the name and of both Digimon and characters the same, but there's a single character who got their name changed in Norwegian, and it's Kari for some reason. In Norwegian, she's called Kagi with a G.
Oh.
And I think it's because Kari is a very like normal Norwegian girl's name. So I guess they thought like, oh, this TV show about Japanese kids. It would be very strange if they had a person named Kari.
Huh. It's kind of like the opposite for the English, for the American market at least. It's like when it makes them sound more American, and then
Yeah, it's a very strange thing, and I can't really like think of any other explanation for it. So, and they did like some like for Greymon, you would say like the Norwegian word for gray. So that they would do like simple translations like that. But other than that, mostly the Digimon had the same name.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, even in the English dub, there's lots of bizarre and weird localization choices. Like, I think generally they're trying to keep the names like familiar to an American audience, but then like they do things like change Miyako, and it's like, okay, I understand Miyako is maybe a weird name, but Yoli is an even weirder name to
Oh yeah,
Americans.
for
So
sure. Like I don't think I've ever heard anyone actually called named Yoli. It's a strange name, but I guess it sounds less like aggressively Japanese, which I think for the time they kept a lot of the Japanese like influence. They didn't try to they didn't go like the Pokemon route of calling the onigiri a jelly donut.
Mhm.
I think it's like they did the best they could with like early 2000s dubbing, I think.
Yeah. It's weird with Yoli. It's weird because, like, I guess Digimon, like, ingrained in my brain so much growing up that I'm like, yeah, Yoli's a totally normal name. Then if I, like, Google Yoli name, it's like Digimon's the number one result. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's also something I noticed with the English dub. They say whenever they say Yoli, they say with like a yodeling twang.
mhm.
Which I guess is like okay, yeah, because it kind of sounds like you yodeling, so maybe they're like playing up that as a fun gag. But it just got. I thought it was like, oh, maybe this was like a one-time thing. But then they just like kept doing it. It was very strange.
Yeah. All right, so I have a quick lightning round just to get your Digimon DNA. What's your favorite season?
Adventure 02, no.
Favorite Digimon?
Ooh, I think it's between Furimon and Valkyrimon.
Nice. I wish Valkyriemon had been in Zero Two.
Oh, that would be so cool. And I just wish we got like a canon Digivolution for Shakumon that isn't Vikemon.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a strange choice.
The new card game has a Valkyriemon card coming out soon. It looks so nice.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so excited for like the English release of the card game. I have such a weakness for like trading card games. My Pokemon TCG collection is pretty insane.
Who's your favorite villain?
Oh, that's a good question. I do like Myotismon. It's like I feel like the best example of a good Digimon villain, but I also really like I like Orochimon and Mummymon just because they start out as Orochimon starts out as this like very imposing. I'm currently rewatching Adventure 02, and she starts out as this like very serious, imposing villain, and basically as soon as Mummymon is introduced, it's Jesse and James 2.0.
Yeah.
It's very and I just love like goofy villains like that. And I love that they're driving around in a dune buggy, and it's very wacky.
Yeah. And it's a weird pattern to the Jesse and James dynamic where it's like a hetero couple kind of, but it's also pretty queer.
Yeah,
Like,
it's very strange because it's very obvious that Momimon is very into Arcanimon. I don't know if it doesn't seem like she's that into him, but it's a strange thing. They can read as queer, but I think maybe that's because we're so used to Jesse and James being so obviously like queer coded that maybe we're
yeah.
projecting that onto them.
Like James never like hits on Jesse.
No, for sure. He's
Yeah.
like rarely interested in any women.
Maybe I'm just thinking of Jesse and James, and my Arcanimon are a lot more straight than I remember.
Yeah, but our Candyman has that kind of like gay icon vibe. She's just she's just like a fabulous lady until she turns into like a gross spider woman.
My queen. Who's your favorite adventure character?
Ooh, Just of the original 8, like the original 8
Yeah.
cast. I think I have to say Mimi. Mimi or yeah, Mimi. Mimi's like the top one for sure.
If it wasn't just the original 8 kids, would your answer be different?
I think Mimi and Yoli maybe. I think I've gotten a newfound appreciation for Yoli. I feel like the O2 kids got a little shortchanged once Ken entered the picture because he's like such an interesting character. But I really like Yoli. She has like a fun dynamic with Davis. Yeah, I really like her, and the Hawkmon line is one of my favorite lines of Digimon.
And this is my favorite question. What's your hottest Digimon take? Most controversial take?
I don't know if I have that many like controversial takes. Is like the one I get the most shit for is preferring the dub music to the Japanese original music. Like the soundtrack to the Digimon movie, not the 2000s pop and rock songs, but like the instrumental tracks is just like it's steeped in so much nostalgia for me. So there's that, and maybe the fact that I like the Ultimates better than the Megas for the Adventure cast. Like for me, almost all 8 of them are better for me as Ultimates than they are as Megas, and that's somewhat controversial, maybe.
Yeah, I think For some of them, I think that would definitely be pretty controversial.
I think maybe I was so like bummed that none of them got their Megas, and then I saw Try, and it was like maybe it was okay that they didn't get their Megas.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because the other day you posted like that Drake meme with the Ultimates and the Megas, and I
Yeah.
was like watching this episode, I was like, oh man, I'm excited for them to like what's coming up in the future with them getting Megas, and then was like, but I guess if people prefer the Ultimates, like I guess we're kind of already in the sweet spot, so maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm very like interested to see, because I feel like that's maybe the reason they did Ultimate so early on in the new series, is that we got like champions were the most used Digimon, I feel like, in the original adventure, so maybe now Ultimates are gonna fill that part, and then we get like the Megas as the slightly rarer like evolution thing.
All right, so one of the really exciting things that you've been working on recently, and depending on when this episode actually comes out, because I'm not sure when I'll have it posted, I'll have posted on Monday or Tuesday or later in the week. But you've been working on a Digimon Adventure zine, and I think it's a really really cool concept where it's basically a piece of artwork for each episode of the original Adventure season. And I'm curious, how did you decide to organize a zine?
The thing I was, I think a few months, maybe around like March, April, I got invited by a friend of mine to do a gym leader scene where where each artist got like a gym leader from Pokemon and was and had to make an illustration based on that. And I had such a great time, like the social aspect of it, being together in a big Discord channel and talking about the thing we liked, and I wanted to do something like that for Digimon. And then I thought, like, to get as many artists on board as possible, I figured going with Adventure is probably like the safest bet, because that's the one people have the most nostalgia attached to. And also I wanted to like try to release it alongside Last Kazuna, since it's sort of like the end of the adventure saga, or and then have like sort of like the beginning as interpreted by a whole bunch of artists.
Yeah, that's cool timing. I'm so used to like, oh, that movie should have come out so long ago, and like, but it's nice to like see like new creative projects come up with the new release date in mind. And so you had participated in other zines before. Was this the first one you'd organize yourself?
Oh yeah, this was the first one I kind of like took the initiative to start, and it was like there's a lot more work than you expect there to be, but I feel like it's also been really fun, and I have to kind of like overcome my natural shyness and just like try to ask people I follow on Instagram or on like other social media if they would like to contribute a piece, and for the most part, the responses have been very positive. And I got to like ask in the use the Discord channel for the gym leader scene, and I got a lot of artists from that one as well, which was really fun.
So there's a lot of crossover between the Pokemon artists and Digimon artists.
Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of those artists are on both scenes and are currently working on a whole bunch of other scenes as well, which is really fun.
I'm curious, was it hard to divide up the episodes? Because it seems like there are going to be some episodes that are like everyone loves these iconic episodes, and then there are going to be some that like are kind of not ones that are very popular.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, we had like a first come first serve policy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think the most iconic episodes went first. I kind of like had first choice since I organized it, so I took chose Togemon and Toy Town, and then kind of like people just we used Google document link, and then people just went in and wrote down their name for the episode they wanted, and there hasn't been any like confusion or like people not happy with the episode they got. There were like the obvious, I think, episodes that were left until the last minute. Like the whole, basically the entire Metal Seedramon arc was left until the very last minute. I don't think people remember that one as well. And for some reason, yeah, Metal Seedramon and every episode with Waymon was left as well.
Oh, poor Waymon.
So yeah, I think like the big Digivolution episodes got taken first, like all the champion episodes and ultimate episodes. So in the end, like the people who asked to join the scene in the end had a sort of limited pool to choose from, but most of them were just like excited to be a part of it, which was really fun.
That's really cool. So yeah, that's the end of my questions for it. So if people want to go check it out, you're aiming to release it on Tuesday the 29th, correct?
Yeah, we're kind of trying to tie it in with the English release of Las Kizuna, and if everything goes to plan, depending on when this comes out, it should be out now. So if you are interested in checking it out, we are on Instagram on the account Digimon Adventure Zine, all in one word.
Yeah, and I'll have a link in the show notes. People can click directly to that. Is it going to be released digitally, and is there going to be a physical release as well, or is it just digital for now?
We're currently just gonna do digital scene, and then we'll see maybe down the line. We'll see like the interest for the scene and how well it does digitally. We might do a physical release down the line.
Cool. Yeah, so if you show support for it, maybe get a physical release later. So everyone should go check it out.
And all the proceeds are going to go to Black Lives Matters charities, and those specific charities will also be in the Instagram once we publish the scene.
Nice. That's really awesome. It's a really cool project. I really like the concept. Actually, where did you get the idea for doing one piece of artwork per episode?
I think I was just like inspired by the like the gym leader scene, like giving everyone a specific thing to do, and I thought having basically like an illustrated retelling of Digimon Adventure with 54 different styles of art would be really cool. So I kind of like extrapolated it from the gym leader scene I was part of.
It's a really cool idea. It reminds me of like projects I remember hearing about of like reanimating or like recreating. I think Star Wars. There's like isn't there like a project to like redo Star Wars 1 minute at a time?
Or, yeah, and I think I think I was also like inspired by like there's a lot of like reanimating a specific scene in an animated movie, or like doing or like collaborative processes like that. It's like yeah.
I think like having a collection that's like here's the re-illustration of the series, and I think kind of like one of the things that makes anime interesting as a medium is that like there can be like sometimes it's good to have consistency, but sometimes it's good to like you can feel different style between each episode. So I think that Azine kind of takes that and not exaggerates it, but like amplifies it, and you get like totally different style piece to piece.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like some people have a really cute like chibi inspired art style, and then you have like this fantastic painted piece with all the Dark Masters who looks like a Renaissance painting. It's there's a lot of different styles, and I feel like everyone just brought their A game, and it's going to be really fun to see it all together. Just like I'm so I'm so excited that so many people were excited about joining the project.
Yeah, the arc that you've shared and previewed looks really great so far. So I can't wait to see the final product.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's really good.
Yeah, so everyone should go check that out and support the zine. Goes to a great cause and looks like some really great artwork. All right, so now moving on back to Adventure 2020. What have your thoughts been on the show so far?
It's kind of like a mixed bunch. I do enjoy the animation for the most part. It's been pretty well animated with some glaring a few episodes looking rather rough. I'm looking at you. The Joe and Zudamon episode, that one was not very great. There was a lot of off model shots in that one.
Hmm.
But like I like the animation, and I do like some of the kind of like recharacterizations. I'm enjoying how Mimi and Joe are kind of like a bit more toned down than their original incarnations. But still, like they're still this basically the same characters, but not as stereotypically like the pretty girl and the like super afraid hypochondriac nerd. But I feel like it's the plot is moving along very quickly without very much happening, and I do think I'm missing kind of like the building of the Digidestins as like a group. I feel like that's not as I feel like at the same point in the original adventure you felt like they were more of a group and had more of them like quirks and personalities down, and I feel like that's kind of missing from this incarnation of it.
Yeah, because like as a whole group, they've only been together for like 2 episodes. Is that right? Like,
Yeah, I think so because I think kind of like the downfall maybe a bit is having like introducing both Joe and Mimi not until like episode 6 and 7, and then you give them their own episode. But in the previous adventure, they kind of had already had like 5 or 6 episodes to get to know them a little bit at least.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of missing. I don't feel like the kids have like gone through enough and grown enough compared to the other one, because I feel like you should look at it as its own thing, but it's so heavily based on the original. I feel like you kind of have to compare them a bit.
Mm.
But yeah, so I'm enjoying it good enough, but I'm kind of like interested to see where they take it. And if like the rumors about it lasting 60 something episodes, yeah, like how this breakneck pace is gonna continue, or if they're gonna start slowing down a bit.
Yeah, I'm really curious. And to your point about like not comparing it to the original, it's like, yeah, it's like kind of an eternal struggle with this series. But this episode in particular, like, kind of invites the comparison. I feel because it's like the kids themselves are kind of reflecting on what they've gone through so far. So it's like it's hard to watch that and not think about like, but what did you really go through?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the whole thing is like it reminds me of the Simpson moment where I think Marge is thrown out of a social club for women, and she says, "I'll never forget the 2 activities we did together." It's very that. I feel like it's there's like what do you have? There's not that much to like for me and Joe especially. Like there's not that much to flashback to. There's like 2-3 episodes of them having actual like character moments, I guess.
Yeah. Did you how are you feeling like during the Ultimate Evolution, like if you can call it saga, like that stretch of episodes? Do you think it like was that too soon, too fast, or
Uh, I'm the thing is like for now I'm cautiously optimistic because I feel like maybe they're gonna do something interesting evolution wise down the line. But I think like maybe I'm gonna look at it differently once we have like the whole series as a whole.
Mhm, mhm.
But I like it now. Like I said previously, I really enjoy the ultimate designs. And I think it's fun that we're obviously gonna get a lot more of those. But also I can see it being it's like everyone gets their champion, and then you have 2 episodes I think, and then you start the ultimates arc right after that, which I think yeah it's a bit fast, but I'm yeah mixed feelings I think you can sum it up as.
Mhm. So, like, if you're having mixed feelings about the show, like, are you still generally like excited to watch it? Have you been keeping up with it like week to week, or? mainly in chunks?
I watched up until the hiatus, like that was the 3 episodes, 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of like fell off it for a little while. Not because I didn't like the opening arc, but just I wanted to save up a few episodes. But I caught up around let's see, think it was the Metal Greymon episode, and since then I've kind of like watched it every week, every Sunday. It's kind of like a tradition. I watch it with my roommate, and we just like it's a nice little like Sunday activity.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think as much as I have mixed feelings about the show overall, and I kind of feel like yeah, most episodes have kind of missed more than they've hit. But it's very exciting to watch. It's like you know, I'm still excited for it each week.
Yeah, and for me, it's like it's the first Digimon show I watched on a weekly basis in 20 years.
Hmm.
So I think that also might like be a bit the bit of a difference. I'm interested when it's all done and just like binge watch it. Because maybe I'll feel different about it then. But yeah, I'm interested to see where they take it.
Hmm. Which of the episodes so far was your favorite?
I think as a Mimi fan, the Lilymon episode
Hmm.
was probably one of my favorites. Not because like the plot was anything amazing, but I thought it was like a really cute story, and the visuals were cute, and I was just excited that we got Lilymon so early on in the show because she was the second to last or the last one to get to Ultimate in the original. Like, I don't think she got to Lilymon until like episode 40, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah, really late.
But yeah, I think that was my favorite episode so far, and I really liked the first three as well, and the one with is that the fourth or the fifth one with the Holy Digimon, and you kind of get like a tease for the story to come. I thought that was that really made me excited for the continuing story.
Hmm. Yeah, looking back on that episode, it's kind of weird that like there was so much of like a tease of the story to come, and then we've gotten almost none of that in the what like 12 episodes since then.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that's maybe the biggest problem is there's no like you have like a tease of Devimon every fifth episode or something, but there's no like clear motivation or clear one bad guy doing
Yeah.
everything that's happening, and I think that's kind of a weak spot on this version of adventure.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Oh, well, on that note, let's dive into this week's episode 17, the battle in Tokyo against Orochimon, aka Hydra Pump, aka Eight Heads are better than one, aka Get Up on the Hydra's back. The spoiler policy for this episode, like usual, it's everything in the Crunchyroll episode, which includes the title and preview for next week, is fair game, but we will not be talking about any future text synopses or titles beyond next week's episode. So, Cinder, what were your impressions of this episode overall?
It was. I think, like we said earlier, there was a lot of cool action. There was like the fight scenes were cool. Orochimon is like a cool villain to fight, I guess. Like the Hydra effect kind of. But it felt a bit empty looking
Mm.
back. Like everyone talking about how much they've grown since they've been there, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't quite achieve the effect I think they were going for.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of my sentiments exactly. Like Orochimon's a cool villain and design. And I think it's especially interesting. Like, I guess what they're going for is that like, okay, they faced one-on-one ultimates before, but now there's an ultimate that can actually take them all on at once. And okay, it's like that's a cool design.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool Digimon to use for that because it has all the different heads and could be attacking multiple Digimon simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird coming from Aizmon because Aizmon was such a fresh and exciting and cool new unique design, and this is like, oh, this is a classic Digimon based on a very famous Japanese folklore, but also didn't tie into that mythology at all, and it was just kind of there.
I actually kind of like missed on my first watch of the episode. I kind of missed the fact that it evolved from Icemon. I was just like, okay, this is just like a new villain that appeared. Which in retrospect is kind of dumb because it had like the Digivolution animation and everything. But I think because it was so different from Icemon, it was a bit strange having it evolve from it. And I'm guessing for next week we're gonna have like a new evolution.
Yeah, it looks like the tease we've gotten of the one for next week feels a lot more like Aizmon. So it's like, are we gonna look back and be like, why was Orochimon in the middle there? That was
Yeah,
kind of
it's like
weird.
a strange middle stage.
Yeah, and structurally, I found this episode very unsatisfying. Like it just felt like they start off the episode, they feel completely unmatched against Orochimaru. They retreat, they spend the episode like retreated and kind of like get a little bit of inspiration, then come back, and then kind of there's a little bit of strategy, but like kind of just do the same thing they were doing before, but this time it works, and then they beat him, and it's like it makes the whole episode kind of feel like they were just treading water. Like the whole episode was dedicated to this one battle and retreating and then coming back to it. And they didn't really change or like there was no growth.
Yeah, it has like a very like middle chapter feeling. That doesn't really need to be there. Like I said, cool battle animations. Cool, but on a story level, it's not that interesting, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel bad, like, being so negative about it, but I was kind of like, but before we record these episodes, I go through and like gather screenshots and GIFs and stuff of cool moments and things to use to post on social media and stuff. And I was really disappointed that there were so few things that I thought were worthy of screenshots or GIFs. Like, it was like all the battle animation was like, oh, Orochimaru uses the same, basically, Hydro Pump attack, and they're dodging it. Oh, and it's like, okay, this is the 10th time. Okay, it looks the same as all the others. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like, yeah. I think last week's episode was better for like when you finally got the team up of all the six ultimates battling Icemon.
Mhm.
That was a much more interesting battle, I think.
All right. Well, we've talked about the episode a lot in general, so we'll probably go through in this recap, probably skim through more than normal. But the episode started off with Bergemon and Digimon Encyclopedia entry, and Koshiro wonders, based on how hot Bergemon is, like how Sora survives on Bergemon, and then throws the nonsensical and bizarre comment that does she have a special cushion just like Yamato? And it's a cute joke.
Yeah. But it was, yeah. It's kind of like, I'm guessing Bergermon kind of works like the Pokemon episode with Ponyta and Rapidash. If it
Mm-hmm.
trusts you, you can ride it without the fire hurting you, I guess.
Yeah, that's the perfect analogy, I think. And yeah, so then like jumping into the episode, Orochimon appears. Kushiro notices that Orochimon's like roar is basically an EMP effect, and also you notice that it's affecting the real Tokyo, which sets up this interesting link between they haven't spelled it out fully, but what seems like what's going on is that they're like at some part of the digital world that's so close to the surface that there's none of the time dilation, and also since it's this weird digital copy of Tokyo, that like the stuff that happens in there is like affecting the real Tokyo as well to some degree.
Yeah, because that's, I feel like it was a bit confusing with, I wasn't quite sure about how the time dilation is working now. If they're like, it seems like they have to be almost synchronized by this point.
Yeah, I think it has to be what's going on. So yeah, like once Orochimaru attacks Metal Greymon and Zudomon try to attack it with their beams, and they just aren't good enough. They're so outmatched. They de-evolve, and then Taichi tells everyone to retreat, and they're just struggling to retreat. The minor characters get on Garudamon, and the major characters get on where Garurumon. They definitely split up. Like here's Taichi Yamato, and here's everyone else.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like,
Yeah, but I didn't notice this during the episode. But when I went back and like watched it again to write this recap, I realized that like, oh, the reason they get split up is because Yamato is distracted. Like everyone else is like diligently trying to retreat, and Yamato is like distracted because he's so. We wait later learn out because he's so insistent on defeating Orochimaru then and there because Takaru lives nearby Shibuya, which I thought was an interesting character detail.
oh yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna be interesting to see their dynamic whenever TK comes into the show.
Yeah. I was particularly frustrated by when Garudamon and the others are like up in the air, like flying away from hydro pumps. But then like they dodge a big burst of water that comes at them, and then like after they've dodged it, they just like fall to the ground. And I guess what they're implying is like, oh, they dodged the hydro pump, but then there was like the EMP roar kind of thing took them down. But it was awkwardly animated and was weird. And the line of Mimi's like, "Oh no, we're falling," and then Joe's like, "But my entrance exam scores can't fall." It's like out of context. This is funny. in context, this does not match the tone. Like,
It's a very strange like joke. It feels very much like an English dub joke almost.
yeah, yeah. It totally has that vibe of like, oh, this normally would be silent or dramatic, but they threw in a random joke. And yeah, like I guess there's been some speculation because I think what I've heard about Joe's characterization in the original Japanese dub of the original show was that he wasn't as like he was still like, you know, responsible and like a worrywart maybe, but he wasn't as seasick and like stressed out by the adventure.
Hmm.
And that was kind of invented by the dub, like making him so anxious about, like physically anxious about things. And it's interesting that in this version, like, oh yeah, Joe's getting sick all the time and stuff. And so I've seen speculation that like maybe that characterization in the dub wasn't. Sometimes we think of things as like the English dub gets created and it's like in a vacuum that's separate from the Japanese version, and the Japanese version doesn't know what's created in the English dub. But it seems like maybe it's a case where like in Japan they actually liked that characterization of Joe and they carried it forward or something.
Yeah, I can see that. It's been a while since I've seen the original adventure in Japanese, but I do feel like his hypochondria and his like stereotypical frail boy thing is very much like played up in the English dub.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so like once they're split up and they retreat and they're kind of like hiding underground, the minor characters like think about how they're outclassed and everyone's scared. Koshiro kind of just like wonders how everything's connected with the Aizmon and the Tokyo copy and the time flow and Orochimon, and he comes to no conclusion, but he just is kind of like, I guess, restating that these are mysteries out there. And Taichi and Yamato are basically hiding, and Yamato explains that he won't take on Orochimon right away because Takaru lives nearby. And once he starts talking about Takaru, we see Takaru in real Tokyo, in an empty, dark apartment.
Yeah, I'm.
Where are his parents?
I was wondering, like, it maybe trying to justify it with maybe they were at work and were like caught in traffic or on the train when the power went out. But I feel like leaving a how old is TK supposed to be? Like 7?
Yeah, I think around that age. So
Yeah, like leaving a 7-year-old home alone is not the best thing to do anyway. But I feel like that's kind of like a thing, just a thing you do in the Digimon universe. I was rewatching the first Digimon adventure movie, and Ty's mom just leaves him alone with Kari when they're 6 and 4 years old,
oh yeah.
and leaves him to like, oh, you can make breakfast and take care of your baby sister.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, I guess. Yeah, because like at that point, like Tai is like a yeah, especially visually, like much more of a baby than I think of as Taku or TK at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think like the style of the movie makes them look like even more baby, but
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like 4 years before adventure, so I think he's like 6 years old.
Yeah, yeah. And basically Hikari notices the EMP like trickling out through the city and like affecting the cars and stuff, and then she sees Orochimaru on the side of a building, and people outside the car mention that the trains are running, so everyone abandons their cars, which I was like, okay, this makes sense in like a full-on disaster mode, like the zombie apocalypse, or like I recently watched Japan Sinks 2020, and it's like, okay, if the whole country is literally falling apart underneath them, this makes sense. But like for a power outage, I don't know.
it feels, yeah, it feels strange, and it feels like, well, even if the trains are running, how long are they gonna keep running?
Yeah.
With like the situation as it is. So yeah, it feels like a strange choice just to get Kari separated from her mom, I guess.
Yeah, basically just there so she can get trampled away. But I guess Sakari's mom, you know, she's diligently making sure the cat's okay, so
Oh
that's good.
yay! I was glad that he didn't forget about Miko.
Yeah. Oh, so then flashing back or switching back to the minor characters, they reflect on how far they've come. Uh, this is a moment I know a lot of people are like pretty positive about. I've seen a lot of people react to. They really like Joe's characterization in this episode, and this is one of these moments that I think Joe generally has been kind of toned down from his like the things that were frustrating his character in the original show. But
Hmm.
then in these moments where it kind of like ties into his arrogant senpai attitude of like I want to be the leader. He at this point in the episode like he kind of like bragging with this haughty. I don't know. Like the line delivery in Japanese was even as like I understand some Japanese, but like I'm not diligently listening enough to like get all the nuance of the voice performances. But this was one that was like so exaggerated stuff to me. Like he reads the line really long. It's like like I'm the bigger person, and it's like oh okay, or like he's just bragging about how much he's gone through. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, it
Like
was
he was saying similar things to what everyone else was saying, but he was even more like bragging about it.
like the way he said it felt a bit like this doesn't feel like Joe.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a strange characterization, but I think you can say that for basically for all the characters talking in this scene. It was just like, yeah, nothing really. There's not that much stuff that has happened that you can reflect back on.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of characters kind of acting out of at least how I don't want them to be perceived, when basically each of the Digimon is kind of like they're doing a little fun like banter, bragging about their specialty, and Palmon says she's the most beautiful, and then Mimi's like, but only as Lilymon. It's like, whoa, 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 slow your roll, Mimi. This is not the Mimi I know. Mimi I know would appreciate Palmon's beauty.
But I do think that's actually kind of consistent with. I think she does say have, at least in the English dub. She does have some like jabs at Palmon's appearance, especially like early on in the series.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I kind of like yeah, that definitely was there in the original. I feel like I kind of one thing I was appreciating about this reboot was that it felt like they had kind of removed that, and it felt like they were Mimi was embracing Palmon's cuteness and stuff.
Mm-hmm,
And
yeah.
maybe I guess now that she's seen Lilymon, she's like, oh well, that was nothing. Like,
But yeah, I totally get what you mean. It does feel a little harsh.
yeah, but she can be shady, I guess. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. And I guess kind of like the scene ends with Sora inspiring everyone that like it's nice that like Sora is kind of the impetus to get them to all be inspired. Like it's nice that she kind of got that moment, but the execution of that moment itself was frustrating me because it's like the line that she says that inspires everyone is like kind of about how like, oh man, can you believe that we still got here together even though we were split apart? And it's like, no, I can't. How did you? You still haven't talked about it. Like
Yeah,
how
because
did
they
you end
kind
up
of
here
just
too? Like,
showed up in the previous episode.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just like Sora is such a non-character in this version yet. I feel like
Hmm.
she's so bland. I feel maybe that's maybe a bit of a problem with Sora in general, but I do think she was better characterized in the original. At least as of this episode, she's very like nothing. I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Like especially that line of like, oh man, like we still got to it's like she's not they didn't work hard to reunite. They were going along the separate paths and then they kind of randomly got reunited. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, can you believe what we did to get this far? It's like, okay. But whatever. And then going back to Taichi and Yamato, basically Yamato declares that he's in the timeline of this episode. He basically is just like they've retreated, and Yamato the whole time is just like, no, I'm going back up there. I'm not going to accept this retreat. I need to keep fighting. And Taichi's like, okay, yeah, cool. Let's go together though. And I guess they kind of reflect on the danger they've been through together and have the little bro, totally not yaoi moment
Yeah.
of reflecting on how, their bond and whatever. But, and then basically Yamato has his plan is to move underground and attack Orochimon near the center. And then Agumon evolves, they burst out from underground and attack. And then basically, from this point on, I feel like Taichi kind of takes center stage for the whole rest of the episode.
Yeah, I was like, where the heck were Garurumon during this? I feel like you saw him after he evolved, and then he kind of just like disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. There's especially because Yamato and Taichi are both on Metal Greymon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like so we keep saying Metal Greymon, and it's like where's Yamato's Digimon though? Like,
It was like a very strange choice, but I guess because Metal Greymon is so big and where Garurumon is basically like slightly bigger than human sized, it would be. I'm guessing like a scale issue.
yeah, I guess so. And yeah, I guess like Yamato can't realistically be riding with Weregrumon at all. Although the visual of like Yamato just like strapped on Weregrumon's back, I find really funny. Like while Weregrumon's going out and fighting, like. And then 20 episodes from now, Koshiro is going to be like, this seems dangerous. Does Yamato have a pillow? But yeah, like especially because like Yamato has the strategy to move underground and attack near Orochimon Center, which I don't think they really did because once they came out, they were still not that close
He
again.
was
But
pretty far off in the distance still.
yeah, yeah, then basically like once Greymon and Gurumon are attacking, I guess Taichi's the only one who notices that they're kind of the heads are defending this one. I didn't notice this until rewatching it that like basically I knew all the heads had slightly different designs, but I didn't realize that like they all are metallic except for one. And so basically, the one that's non-metallic is the one they're all kind of like re-maneuvering to defend whenever they get attacked.
Yeah.
And Taichi's basically the only one who notices that and comes up with a strategy to focus on that one head. And I don't know, I just didn't love the focus that it's like he seems to be the only one that picked up on that. And it's like, I mean, at least the other kids show up and then like help them by distracting the other heads. And it's like, okay, so they got a moment to shine. Zudamon gets that cool hammer spin attack to block the water, which I thought was really great.
Oh yeah. But I feel like they each got like a little scene each, and then it was back to Tai. It's like the Tai show.
Yeah. And they also get like that. Oh man, we're standing here and we're really determined, and our Digivice is glowing, and it's like, great. Okay. This could have happened the first time. This could have happened at the beginning of the episode, but you had to kind of pad an entire episode with them retreating and then coming back and then doing the same thing they could have done from the beginning.
Yeah, it was a very strange, I feel like this is kind of like the definition of a filler episode.
Yeah. I usually resist that moniker, but
Same.
for this episode, I'm like, no, I think it's totally apt. Because like the big growth or like debut in this episode is that the Crest of Courage flashes on Metal Greymon, he glows, and then the Giga Storm attack like pushes back Orochimon's head, but then once he attacks again while the Orochimon head is charging again, he does Giga Destroyer instead of Giga Storm. Isn't that exciting? It's a different attack.
Yay. Fine. That was that was the extent of the strategy of the whole attack. It felt a little bit like, yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen some people be really excited about this debut of his like more iconic Giga Destroyer attack. And
yeah, because this was the first time he's used it in this show.
Yeah, the first time he brought out the chest missiles, and I don't know. I just I guess it's kind of weird because when Metal Greymon first debuted and he didn't use that attack and instead used the Giga Storm. The thing I find most bizarre about these two attacks is that and it's all different in the English dub anyway, but like in the Japanese version, like when he says Giga Destroyer, it's a hard G, Giga. But when he says Giga Storm, it's a soft G, it's Giga Storm. But it's weird.
That's very strange, yeah.
But yeah, like when Metal Gear debuted and used a different attack, I was more hyped for that. I was like, oh, they're not going with the original thing from the original show. They're doing something new and exciting. It's a new move that Metal Gear's never had before. It's debut in this version. So then for like whatever it is, like 7 or 8 episodes later or whatever, to then be like, aren't you excited? It's the original attack. And it's like, I wasn't really.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware that I didn't think that much about it. The Giga Destroyer not being in the show, so I didn't think about it being the first time he's used it so far.
Yeah, I think it's also, especially like when I was watching with my boyfriend, he like I mentioned that it was the first time the Giga Destroyer attack was used because there was a piece of artwork on social media that the official Digimon account shared of like celebrating that it was the first time the move was used, and my boyfriend was like, "No, it isn't. Like we've definitely seen it before." And I think it's confusing because there are a bunch of other Digimon that have very similar, those like weird, I want to say anthropomorphic. The missiles have eyeballs, right?
Yeah, because they kind of look like shriveled up sharks or something. It's like the kind of the same thing that Skull Greymon has on his back. And was it Metal Tyrannomon who used like similar?
Yeah, like I think Metal Tyrannomon had something similar. Andromon had something similar. I think Gardramon did too. I guess it's a little different for Gardramon.
Yeah, but I feel like it's just like the standard Digimon missile.
Right. So it's like it feels like we've seen so many of them that it's like, oh, is this the first time that Metal Greymon did it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and then in the aftermath, everyone's just lying in the street and they're kind of like satisfied and resting. And they're like, oh, surely everything will go back to normal. But then a 10-minute countdown appears and we see Hikari and Takeru watching the countdown in the real world. And that's in the episode.
Do you think that, because it feels like every single person can see the countdown, but do you think every single person also saw the Digimon battle?
Yeah, I'm so unsure because didn't see people were reacting. So
no, because you only like panned. You only saw like Kari's face, and then just like everyone from the waist down.
Yeah, I could see them going either way. Really, like I think there's enough evidence in this episode that either one would work. I think it's kind of neat if it's a like a bond thing that only they could see them. But I don't know. And at least this countdown feels like it's like intentionally being broadcasted, whereas the fight was
Yeah.
more like they just happened to like it felt like it was more like trickling through. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm guessing it'll be more clear in the next episode where we'll probably see like how the real world reacts to the countdown and everything.
Yeah. All right. So it's now moving on to some 3-word reviews. At Golden Pelt said, strategy? Maybe.
At Bored Individual said, "Where's the beef?"
I don't get what that joke's referencing.
That one was confusing.
It's over my 8 Orochimon heads. At Dot Yawning said, another dramatic countdown.
At Andy Lucas TT said, hetero life partners. Right.
At CC Takata said, Palmon always beautiful.
True.
I agree.
At 1 Foot Stout said, Togemon beautiful, Mimi. Very true.
Yeah, I also agree. Dak and Jackster said, snake, snake, snake.
I'm guessing is that a Metal Gear Solid reference?
I think so. I only think I know it from like Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I feel like it's like I've only seen it like memed.
Yeah.
At Megadramon22 said Orochimon used Hydro Pump.
At Gigimon22 said Kaiju versus Teamwork.
At Leo Sketch said televised Digimon fight.
At Empire Will, Joe stepping up.
At Grim Catician?
Yeah, I think it's like tactician, but catician?
Grim Catician? Yeah. Said teamwork works Tayama.
Yeah. At Lucas Kukas said best episode yet? Question mark?
That question mark is that leaves something.
Yeah.
At Sirius BW Greymon, I'm guessing Black War Greymon, said Hikari stops Stampede. I was it Hickory.
At Dayon1231, Giga Destroyer good. I feel kind of bad reading some of these reviews after having just been negative about the things that they're excited about.
We're just like trashing everything.
Yeah. All opinions are valid.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's all subjective.
Yeah. So moving on to some listener questions. First off, from Gigamon22. First off, I said, shout out to the sly sexism against Sora yet again. When she says Garudamon can handle one head, and then Kushiro says other Kabuterimon can handle 2 heads. And it's like, oh, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Sora's getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah. And a question from Gigamon22 said, you're both fans of drag queens, so if you had to design a drag queen outfit around a Digimon, what one and why? This is a hard question.
That is a very hard question. I actually have on good authority that Queen from Drag Race before DragCon LA was cancelled was gonna come in an Angelwoman outfit.
Oh.
And I feel like that's the biggest thing. That's like the fact that COVID took that from us is a very privileged thing to say. But like, I would have died, and this queen would have killed it.
I was trying to think of like, because I've still consider myself fairly new to Drag Race culture, and because I only started watching like under 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
And the like, I don't know what I find my favorite drag queens, like it's more about personality than looks. But also like I love when a Drag Race aesthetic is like so very extreme, when it feels like anime, when it's like taking something to the utmost extreme. So when I was thinking about Digimon that are like that, I was like, Gunjamon, like make a political statement about gun control by having an outfit that's just maybe not actual guns, obviously, but like, you know, just like what if Gunjamon, but as a drag queen. That was my thought.
I think I would have loved to see like an interpretation of Sylphimon as like kind of like a gender fuck, kind of like androgynous thing. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah. And I think I remember seeing from scrolling through the artwork we've done, didn't you do a couple of the like the Pokemon trainer but with Digimon?
Yeah, for season 11 I did like for the first 2 or 3 episodes I did both Pokemon and Digimon pairings.
Oh, okay.
So I did like I think I did Eevee Oddly with Leomon, and what else did I do? I think I maybe did Ariel Versace with what's that that pink sheep Digimon that I can't remember. It has like the little like cute little missiles on its back. Sheepmon. It's that easy.
Oh, it's just called Sheepmon?
It's just called Sheepmon.
Oh, I wasn't really familiar with this one. It really is just a sheep with missiles. Okay.
Yeah, it has like the Mega Gargamon like cute face
Yeah.
missiles.
Oh, Digimon designs. All right. Next question from Andy Lucas TT said, Kari and TK were the only ones who could see Ty and Matt on the TV, right? We see no one's reaction to the kids, but then everyone can see the countdown. Like we were speculating before, like I think this is ambiguous enough from this episode alone. I think it'll be clear next episode. Like, we didn't see everyone else reacting, but the camera was just focused on Kari and TK. So like, yeah, I think it's possible everyone else saw stuff, but
Hmm.
I think the more interesting question here is like, which would you prefer? Would you like everyone to have seen the kids and like what's going on, or would you prefer it's just TK and Kari saw?
I think maybe I prefer that only TK and Kari saw it.
Hmm.
I think because it kind of like shows that they have that kind of special connection to the digital world, despite the fact that they haven't actually gone there yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point in the story, I don't exactly see what it would add if it was like publicly broadcast and everyone knew about them, because especially since like I feel like that concept worked fairly well in the original show when it was the concept of like the parents watching the kids when they go back to the digital world, like the Dark Masters arc or whatever,
Hmm.
like watching them in the sky. So like without that personal connection, if it's like, oh yeah, they're being broadcasted, and Tai Chi's mom hasn't even noticed because she's too busy trying to find a car in the crowd, like, okay, so there's no emotional connection, so it doesn't really matter for me.
Yeah, exactly, and it kind of like throws the whole thing away about whenever if they're gonna have like an arc in the real world. I just love the fact that they had to like find different ways to hide their Digimon from their parents and from the rest of the world.
Oh yeah. I hadn't even thought about how like that could just be they could jump past that now.
Yeah.
Pat Danyani asked, do we think Digimon Encyclopedia segment Koshiro is going to wonder if Mimi, Joe, and himself also all sit on cushions? I think I think if they continue this joke, which I hope they do, I think Koshiro speculating about himself would be the ultimate like extension of it.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
like how does that kid Koshiro sit on Atlas Kawatarimon? He must have a special cushion. Like
That would be very funny, actually.
this is kind of a meta question, but Megatron22 asked, I've very nearly finished the back catalog of Pottage's episodes watching Data Squad now. Are there plans to release the podcast episodes for the rest of season 5 soon, or has Adventure 2020 taken priority? Glad I found the podcast in sync with 2020, but Data Squad is my fave. Yeah, that's basically it's really hard. It was already hard to go back and edit those episodes. I mean, for people who don't know, we did finish recording about Data Squad. So all those episodes are recorded, they're saved, they exist, and I will release them someday. It's already kind of hard to edit them because of personal circumstances before focusing on Adventure 2020, and now focusing on editing 2 podcasts a week means I have very little free time, and yeah, the ability to edit those episodes is definitely taking a backseat. But I'm really hopeful, yeah, definitely someday, but probably after Adventure 2020 ends, before I can really get around to it. Or, maybe if Adventure 2020 gets so bad that I don't want to cover it. I don't think it's anywhere near that point now. I'm still excited to watch it week to week, and still excited to cover it. And on to Megadramon 22's question. The Apocalypse vibes continue from last episode with each character reflecting on how much they've changed. How much do you think the kids have actually changed? I agree Matt has changed, but has anyone else really changed? Great action episode, less great characters.
I don't feel like there's been a lot of growth. Maybe Izzy is a bit less like timid, but I guess that's not really like growth. It's more that he's gotten to know the other kids, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like if Koshiro had been the one to like come in and then explain the head thing, like they have to go for the one head, that to me would have felt like okay, he's grown, he's not just looking up data from his analyzer on his computer, he is strategizing and stuff. But we didn't even need that because Taichi figured it out without Koshiro. So
Yeah, for sure.
so I don't know. Yeah, it's they've changed in like slight ways, it feels like, but I feel like this is early enough in the show that we shouldn't really be expecting them to have changed. So it's just a little awkward for them to have these moments where it's like, oh man, we've been through so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like on day 2 of summer camp being like, man, wow, this has been an adventure. Yeah, so Empire Will wrote in and said, I thought Joe showed some actual leadership for once. Actually, all the kids have shown some growth, except Sora in general. I hope these get followed up in more nice little character moments, but this version has not really taken their time for those. That was the end of one comment, and then the next question. Is it just me, or was this a sharp turn in terms of danger to the kids? I don't think the show has shown that they were in danger on the battlefield until this episode. I don't think it was a sharp turn, but I definitely, I got the sense that they were like scared for kind of, not the first time, but like they definitely seemed like they were more in danger.
Yeah, the stakes felt a little bit higher in this one. Maybe like this is like the natural step up from the Metal Tyrannomon episode. I feel like that was kind of like the peak like danger to the kids. Either that or the when they were storming the fort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does feel like though whenever the kids are actually, I feel like the kids have been fired on a ton.
Yeah.
Almost every Digimon has like fired directly at them, and they always miss, and enough that like things blow up, and like maybe they get like, I don't want to say battle damage. They're not actually getting scars, but they're bruised up. Like we see like little marks on the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like there were missiles fired or lasers fired directly at you. Like I guess there's implying it like hit the ground and like the dust or the rubble kind of, I don't know, scraped them up.
Yeah, that they're just like dirty from all the debris flying just around
Yeah.
them, just missing them.
So yeah, I feel like in that sense, in terms of what's actually like, if you analyze like what's actually happening directly to the kids in the animation, I feel like this may be even more tame than most episodes because like last episode, Aizmon fires several beams of lasers at them at once, and
Mm-hmm.
they happen to be okay. Or like when Taichi's fighting Metal Tyrannomon, like there's like several waves of like I forget what like the lasers and missiles that come and hit him, and it's like he's just okay every time. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the Metal Tyrannomon episode, like you brought up when he first appears with the Ogremon episode, like felt like, oh my god, they're so in danger, but like he still like fires missiles directly at them, and then they're okay afterwards. And it's
Yeah, and then he just kind of like spends the entire next episode just like slowly lumbering behind them.
yeah, until he runs, and then it's like, why were you lumbering along if you could just run? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like they were telling us that they were more in danger this episode, but especially when it's like Orochimon's attack did not feel that threatening. It's like, oh, he has this hydro pump, okay, okay. But maybe this like that roar that causes the MP is what's really dangerous, and it's hard to visualize that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. At LAO Sketch said, so the secret's out now, right? I have a hard time believing only Takaru and Akari saw that broadcast of the Orochimaru fight. Also, judging by the preview for next episode, Takaru and Akari are going to join immediately after. What's with this bizarre pacing, Toei? So like we said before, I think we're kind of leaning towards hoping that it's just Takaru and Akari that saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I think so, but I mean, I guess we'll see the next episode. And I'm not 100% sure they're gonna join next episode. I'm kind of like almost fearing we'll get like Metal Garurumon and War Greymon for the next episode.
yeah,
Since Orochimon is gonna like, or the next Digimon, the next iteration of that is probably gonna be like Mega level.
yeah, I agree. And one kind of complaint I have about this episode, like once I realized like, oh right, this Tokyo quote unquote arc seems like it's gonna be 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the second episode of which is kind of just all about them doing a single fight. I was like, oh wait, I guess this is kind of just like the first 3 episodes of the show, kind of again. And then when we see in the preview that it's like, oh yeah, and it looks like Takara and Akari are going to reach their hands out, and there's going to be a feather, and they're going to get some mysterious evolution. It's like, oh, so it's really just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it feels a bit strange, but I guess we'll see. We'll see next week what happens.
Yeah. At Grim Gatician said, much like Cross Wars, I feel like so much of the character writing is saved for quote unquote big episodes as opposed to building up organically over time. At this point, is it a pacing issue, or do you think it's just the sort of show, action heavy, it's trying to be? This episode gave us some great character moments, and I wish we would get more of them sprinkled throughout. How do y'all feel about the cast so far? I feel like Sora and Taichi are really rather flat, and Yamato just grates. Unsure about how writing in character late on the show will go. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I feel like a lot of people have been pointing out a lot of reactions I've seen in the episode have been there's been great character moments, but that wasn't my experience.
No, not me either. I feel like this was kind of like a weak episode character wise, but yeah, I'm guessing, like we said, it's a subjective thing. So I'm guessing other people got something else from the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like this episode did a bit of like telling instead of showing, like by having the kids talk about how much they've changed. I feel like it sells the illusion that there was character growth in this episode, but I don't think it actually was, but yeah, it's all subjective, and like maybe there's an angle that really resonated with people that I was missing, and so I don't want to discount that.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe the problem is we don't know the kids, like their base personality well enough, so we can't really see where they've come from. So like it's yeah, it feels like it's very light on character development yet.
Yeah. Well, last comment came in from DigiXmonmon, and they said, "How should reboots of a thing be judged, especially on a series like Digimon, where they could have made something new, but instead opted to use well-known characters to tell a different story? Something I struggle with each passing episode." Especially regarding the kids' personalities. Yeah, and like we kind of brought this up earlier that like it's hard to judge this show. It's implicitly inviting the comparison to Adventure, obviously, but I feel like it's something we should somewhat resist. I can't remember where I saw these reactions, but like when we were initially covering Adventure Zero Two for the podcast years and years ago, like in 2015, seeing a lot of like reactions to Zero Two that like kind of just trash on Zero Two because of like directly comparing it to Adventure. Like they're basically like,
Yeah.
well, in Adventure episode 10, they do this. In Adventure Zero Two episode, they do that. Therefore, Adventure
Exactly.
Zero Two is
Yeah.
bad. It's like, what? That's bad logic.
It's kind of interesting because it's like at the end of the day, it's kind of like created for a new generation of audiences.
Hmm.
So, but I feel like saying it's a kids show is just like that's like a cheap cop out because kids show can be like good and complex and have good characters. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's inevitable that it's going to be compared to the original adventure.
Yeah, and they definitely like in creating the show definitely want to have their cake and eat it too. Like if they wanted something that just appealed to the new audience. Oh, I don't know. I guess I feel like when they've tried that with Digimon recently, it hasn't really worked. So
Yeah, I
I
guess
feel
like
like Toei's strategy is for the new audience, Precure. Digimon like will revive every now and then for an older audience, and I think it's like this is the closest we'll get to them actually trying to like do something for new kids, and I guess we'll see how well it works.
yeah, and then you also have like merch for both the new kids and the older fans who like remember the characters and wanna yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I definitely like on a meta level appreciate this approach compared to Try, which Try felt like it was treading not treading water in terms of like story, but in terms of like release schedule. Felt like it was like meant to take 3 years to come out so they could be selling merch for the adult audience during those 3 years as long as possible.
Yeah,
And
and I feel like it Try kind of had like the I don't know, it felt like it had the let's not talk about Adventure 02 that much. We kind of
yeah,
like it has like the it feels like it's taken some of the fan reaction into play at like I think it works against the show because I think having the O2 kids would be I think wouldn't fix the show, but I think it would maybe restructure it a bit.
yeah, and I'm excited. By the time this episode comes out, maybe Last Evolution Kizuna will already be out in English or not, depending on when I get the episode out. But I'm excited to see, because at least what I've seen from teasers of that, it seems like it's a movie that isn't necessarily about the Zero Two kids, but like acknowledges their existence enough for it to feel reasonable and to feel like they got a moment. And I wish we could have had that in Try.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like from what we've seen, like this feels like a kind of like I'm guessing Kizuna is kind of like a celebration of the entire adventure franchise, while
Hmm.
Try kind of was just like, okay, so this is just a direct sequel to Adventure, and then we're kind of just like, about the the whole O2. Like you had young Genai and the Digimon Emperor, but that was kind of like it.
Yeah, and so much of like I feel like even defenders of Try, you have to explain it on like a meta level. You have to be like, oh well, the Zero Two kids aren't in it because this, they're not as popular, and this is clearly about adventure. It's like, okay, but even from a narrative standpoint, it doesn't make much sense. So like, I feel like you shouldn't have to explain like outside. Like, if you look at the character polls, you can understand why this show is structured this way.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, I still think even if the O2 kids are unpopular, at least have them be a part of like maybe the last two movies or something.
Yeah, yeah, I think it totally. I don't know, just like undercuts a lot of characterization for them to be so accepting of Mako, but then like not even remember the time that they were so accepting of these other kids, and like,
Yeah, because I'm not sure if I think I've only seen like the last two movies in an abridged version.
oh,
But
okay,
but you don't even like actually see their faces. You just see like their silhouettes.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I've seen lots of people defend, like, oh, well, then they would have had to, like, design their characters just for this brief little appearance. And, like, if they're going to do a sequel to try where the Zero Two kids show up, they wouldn't want to, like, what if they changed the character design style before then so they couldn't reveal it now? It's like, I, these all just are excuses, and it feels
Yeah,
frustrating.
it really does, and yeah, I don't know. I haven't really ran into a lot of try defenders in my Digimon internet journeys, but I'm guessing they're out there, and like by all means, if you like it, it's like great. That's more Digimon content for you to like, but it's yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think if it's something that spoke to you, then that's great.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then turn back into the question of like reboots being judged. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's all about our like personal experiences, right? And so like a reboot's always going to be framed as like everyone who watches it is going to be thinking about how it relates to the original show. So like
Hmm.
as much as it's like nice to say like, oh, if we want to be objective, we should be treating the show as its own thing. Like I think it's inevitable that people react comparing it to the original show and stuff. And so like I think we should, have, be open to possible big changes.
Hmm.
Uh, but I feel like the show hasn't really there haven't been huge swings from the original in terms of like characterization. There have been big swings in terms of structure and stuff, and
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like
for sure.
in general people have been open to that. So that's
But I do think they're like playing it kind of safe, having Devimon as like the first villain, and I'm guessing they'll kind of create a split with people who, now that they've used Devimon as the first villain, some people are hoping for like completely different villains, and then other people are gonna hope for like, oh, okay, so next is Edamon, Myotismon, and the Dark Masters.
yeah. Yeah, I'm really curious. I guess I'm worried they're making like I'm worried if Devimon becomes the like the big bad in the entire season or something.
Oh yeah, that would be yeah. I'm interested. I'm in to see where it goes.
Yeah, like I liked the weirdness of the original show being like, okay, this first arc was so captivating. Like you're up against the devil, basically, like this huge intimidating threat, and then they defeat it, and it's like, okay, where do you go from there? An Elvis impersonating monkey, like, or like it looks more like a guy in a monkey suit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, sure, but like it worked because he was, like it's a concept that shouldn't work on paper, but they sold through how intimidating he was in other aspects.
Yeah, 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 for
That
sure.
that's the cool, fun weirdness of Digimon. And instead, if this show's like, nope, it's all not all Devimon, but like if instead it's like more leaning into that initial big scary threat and less of the cool, fun weirdness,
Uh-huh.
that's a little sad.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think maybe that's something that's missing a bit from this version too. It's like the weirdness, the kind of like the fun of Digimon.
Hmm.
Because I feel like there hasn't been like the new Numemon or the Sukamon or like those kind of like gag characters yet.
Yeah, I appreciate not having those gag characters like harassing Mimi,
Oh yeah,
being
yeah,
the
yeah, for sure.
punchline,
Because
but
that's problematic for sure. Looking back at it, but I think like just like having something kind of like something fun like that. I think.
yeah, I think it adds to like the feeling of like it doesn't feel like the show has as much characterization because it
Yeah.
doesn't have that like yeah, we don't have the vibe of there being a character to the show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like to conclude the topic of like judging reboots. Like I think the only trap that people should be wary of falling into is like if you're comparing something to the original, then like a difference shouldn't be a fault. Like it
Yeah.
shouldn't be like A is different than B, therefore A is bad. Or like it shouldn't be like A is different than B, A was good, therefore B is bad. Like
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
can
Yeah. For
be
sure.
different and both be good. So like if you find that the new show doesn't work for you in some reason, I feel like just try to find a way to express that in a way that's not just like, well, it's bad because it's different. Like if
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
resonating
Yeah.
with you, it should be because of something about the way it's not resonating with you.
Yeah. 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 For sure.
Yeah. So, but I feel like I don't know, compared to things I'd seen about Zero Two and the way people compare Zero Two to Adventure, I feel like most people talking about this reboot, are judging by its own merits and stuff, and like,
Oh yeah, for sure. I
yeah,
think the general consensus I've seen has been a lot more positive than whenever I see anything about O2, it's just like I don't know, I feel like O2 is kind of like the last Jedi of the Digimon franchise. Everyone has like, oh, this is what I would do differently. I would rewrite everything and then like everything would be completely different and it wouldn't be the same season. And I think that's kind of like that's not what Adventure 2020 is getting. I feel like it
yeah.
just yeah.
All right, so before we get into our ratings for this episode, do you have any other final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think I've gotten most of what I thought about the episode off my chest.
All right.
Yeah.
Off your chest missiles
Yeah.
you've been storing for a couple episodes.
I fired off my Giga Blaster. Got one.
Yeah. No, that would be a Drag Race outfit. Having Giga Blasters come out of your.
Oh, for sure. That would be awesome.
I mean, a lot of Jimbo's breastplates felt like they had Giga Destroyers inside, but. All right. So how would you rate this episode out of 5 stars?
I think I'm gonna give it a 3, maybe 2.5, 3. I feel like maybe 2.5 is a bit rough, but I didn't hate it, but it felt like it was like we were talking about. It was like treading water. I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars actually.
All right. Yeah, I'm also really hesitating between 2.5 and 3 because like I feel like I can compare it to my least favorite episodes of the show so far, which were like sadly like both Sora episodes, episode 4 and whichever one with the bees.
Yeah.
And I feel like both of those at least did not feel like they were treading water.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
At least we got like a decent like plot and stuff to them.
Yeah, it's just that they don't have like I think the fault of the Sora episodes is just they don't have the characterization. I don't feel like they've chosen how they want to portray Sora yet. Like if they're gonna have her like as the mom of the group, like she was in the original adventure, or like what's her deal?
Yeah. I think she's like the hardest to write for like everyone else has like this big bold kind of characterization and like character trait that they can emphasize on, and it's like Sora, it's like, oh well, there's not much like for her to do on a regular basis aside from.
I feel like a lot of her character kind of like is dependent on her relationship with her mom.
I love that arc of the original show, I guess like during the early Myotismon, before they actually meet Myotismon, where she like does get to do a lot of stuff kind of because she's separate from the group, and it'd be nice if the show found a way to not doing that exact thing with her again, not making her, act in the shadows and stuff, but like somehow found a way to like give her an active role, but it doesn't seem like they've been able to do that so far.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like Sora's, she's always, I don't know. I feel like it's very true with what you're saying. Like they're kind of like unsure of what to do with her after her relationship with her mom has kind of like improved. Her in O2 and her in the short about her. It's kind of like, yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see her character develop.
Yeah. All right. So, did you have a MVP for this episode?
Oh, I think I'm going to give MVP to Pseudomon. He did a lot of cool stuff, like the hammer spinning, and I was surprised they gave him this much to do because I feel like he usually, like, the Gomamon line doesn't get a ton of stuff to do besides comic relief.
Now, like looking back at the episode, it's like that hammer spin moment is like the one thing that shines out from it. So like I think I'm gonna have to go to Zudomon as well. It feels kind of bad because it's like in the actual narrative structure of the episode, it doesn't mean much, but
yeah, no, but like you said, it's kind of like a moment that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah. All right, so the next episode is episode 18, Countdown to Tokyo's Annihilation. It seems like there's going to be a new Digimon with lots of teeth and lots of eyes. The destinies of their younger siblings in Tokyo begin to unravel, whatever that means. I don't know what destinies unraveling means.
That's a weird wording, but I'm guessing it's like, yeah, maybe we'll get some like holy Digimon, more the holy Digimon lore, I guess, with Patamon and Gatomon, maybe.
Yeah, I guess kind of like most optimistically, I'm hoping that somehow Takaru and Akari, maybe not joining the group, but like being involved somehow shakes up the status quo enough that the show feels pretty different.
Yeah.
But most pessimistically, I'm worried it's just going to be the same moment as episode 2 where they reach out, maybe at Crest Glows, they touch a feather, and then they unlock an evolution for Wargram and Melgoromon or something.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that you see TK's crest in the preview, but you don't see Kari's crest.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of prepared for Kari to be added later in the show to the group, but I was kind of like hoping she'd be a bigger part earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, if they're, we still don't know if they're going to be going with the traditional definitions of the crest or whatever, but like it seems like what they've set up so far is kind of like, I could see how Takaru like sitting alone on his abandoned balcony in the dark, like wishing for his brother. Like that's the kind of thing that could inspire hope. Like he's hoping for his brother. And Hikari being kind of like almost crushed by this mob and separated from her mom, but showing resilience despite that, and like not basically like trusting the faith, trusting in people and not being like upset or whatever by the mob is something that feels like it is kind of evoking light to some degree, whatever. So like I feel like they set them both up that they could be activating some element of their, crest personalities, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see.
And the teaser ends with Devimon smirking. So
it's like that's his only part in the episode. Is the episode next week's episode just ends with Devimon smirking? He's like,
that's what I'm worried. Like I think it's gonna. It reminds me of one of the trailers for Try, where like I think it was for Try Chapter 2, where the trailer showed Ken, and I was like, oh man, this Chapter 2 is gonna be amazing. But then his appearance in Chapter 2 was basically what was in the trailer. Him
yeah,
just being
exactly.
teased. But yeah, so now before we close out the episode, let's get into our recommendations. Sindre, do you have something you want to recommend?
I'm currently watching Lovecraft Country on HBO. It's a very good show. Kind of like a horror sci-fi show set in the 50s with an all black cat, kind of like reframing Lovecraft horror. And I think it's a really, really cool, exciting show. And the characters and story is so good that even I hate horror. I'm really like, I have a really low tolerance for scary stuff, but I feel like the characters and story are so engaging. I can kind of like stomach the horror elements.
That's kind of how I feel too. Like I'm a baby in terms of when it comes to horror.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's especially an interesting recommendation for Digimon fans because Digimon has its elements of, Chiaki Kanaka, who wrote the Dark Ocean episode in 02, and also the, Lead Tamers writing, is a self-professed, like, huge fan of Lovecraft. And so, like, it's a pretty interesting, I've only seen the first episode of Lovecraft Country, but even those two episodes, like, do a very, like, Lovecraft was extremely racist, and it's very interesting to get, like, that full-on addressed in the narrative and have that be brought to light. And yeah, I feel like when I stretch, I can kind of see that Tamers is maybe kind of taking Lovecraft's messages and making them less racist, but that's really like not really. Whereas with Lovecraft Country definitely feels like it's, let's full on like engage with and push back against Lovecraft's racist legacy.
So. Yeah, it feels like this is the like only right way to do a Lovecraft adaptation at this moment. Just like address that he was extremely racist and just kind of like reframe it against the the civil rights movement, all that.
Yeah, it's such a it's like so extremely racist that like I feel like even calling it racist isn't enough, because it's like once you realize that he was like the things that he was describing as these like otherworldly terrors were black people, it's like
it's on a completely different level. And but yeah, Lovecraft Country, a very good show.
Yeah. I'm going to recommend a gacha game that I got back into recently, which is Final Fantasy Dissidia Opera Omnia. I don't think that's the right order. I think it's probably like Dissidia Final Fantasy / Opera Omnia. I don't know. It's a bizarre name. But it's a gacha game that I tried a while back and was like kind of interested in, but like never really got invested in. And I think I just heard on the back burner for a while that it was just a very solid game over time, and it's like very generous in what it gives to free players, and also like doesn't require tons of time to play and stuff. And I've been surprised getting back into it that like it does feel very rewarding and generous and stuff. And so I think and it has all the Final Fantasy fan service, like you can get all these cool characters and play as your favorite Final Fantasy characters. And if you want to have like the best team ever, that's a bit limited. Like you have to kind of only get the characters that are available on the banners while you're playing. But but even for me, like I'm like I don't care about Arden in Final Fantasy 15, but like he's still pretty cool. So anyway, it's a pretty good game. And if you're looking for a Final Fantasy fan service gacha game that is well designed and feels satisfying, because there are like 10 different Final Fantasy gacha games, and this is I think the only one's actually good. So yeah, all right. So that brings us to the end of the show. Last week's Digiprompt was, what activity would you promise to share with your Digimon once your adventure was over? And my favorite response came in from @Tokujo, and they said, storming the Toei offices. Yeah, I agree. Get some justice for Sora. This week's Digiprompt is to celebrate the first occurrence of Metal Greymon's Giga Destroyer this week. What instance of a special attack in the series do you find the most memorable and why? So, like, not just like what attack do you find the most memorable, but like the time this attack was used stands out in your memory. I'm really curious about. So yeah, send your Digiprompt responses and general feedback to potages@gmail.com, potages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on our website, potages.com. If this is your first episode, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or in traditional podcast apps. If you want to support the podcast, share it with your friends who say that you're beautiful, even in your rookie form. And please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps out. And I'm Definitely Jeff on Twitter. You can also check out my general anime podcast, Love It or Weeb It. Next couple episodes we have are coming out about Mr. Love Queen's Choice, which is a fun Otome game with lots of hot guys. Very hot guys. And Rent a Girlfriend, which is absolute garbage and is terrible. Is a harem about an incel protagonist, and I hate it with all my being, but it's a fun episode to hear us hating on it, so stay tuned for those. So, Sindre, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really fun.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's my very first podcast appearance, and I'm just like super psyched about being able to talk about Digimon for a couple of hours and just like I've had a really good time.
Yeah. It's been really fun talking to you. If people want to check out your art and find all your stuff online, where should they go?
They can go to Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Sindorman at all of them, Sindorman on all social media. Twitter for my hot takes about Digimon and Instagram for like all my art.
I especially appreciate following you on Twitter because I think your hot takes are fun, but also like at the perfect intersection of gay culture and Digimon culture.
So yeah, if you like gay stuff and Pokemon and Digimon and just like 90s popular culture, give me a follow.
Yeah, and definitely go check out his artwork. It's really amazing. Lots of really great stuff. And I was surprised going back through your Instagram how much there was some Digimon stuff from a while back that I was like, oh wait, I've seen this around the internet. I just didn't realize it was you. Oh.
Oh yeah. I think I did like a Digivolving series for the Adventure Cast that got pretty popular back on Tumblr and on like the Digimon subreddit, and it's kind of like just like floating around the internet.
Yeah. And also if people want to check out the Digimon Adventure Zine, they should go to is it Digimon Adventure Zine on Instagram?
Yeah, all in one word on Instagram. And they're I'm guessing we should be out on the 29th, but should anything happen that postpones it, we'll be like all the information will be on that Instagram page.
Yeah, so fingers crossed everything goes well for the launch. I'm really excited for it, and if people want to find any of the social media pages and stuff, everything will be linked in the show notes. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with another guest next week to talk about episode 18, Countdown to Tokyo's Annihilation. Bye. And remember, never stop Digivolving. I remember like when I followed you on Instagram and Twitter, it was mainly for Pokemon. I was like, oh, okay, someone who is into Drag Race and Pokemon. And then I was like, oh wait, they're talking about Digimon too. Oh, okay. So there's more and more Digimon. Oh, more. Okay.
Yeah, I think I had like this kind of like this shift where I wanted like my Twitter to be a presence for my art at the same level as my my Instagram, and then I sort of like got to talking with people on Twitter about Digimon and stuff, so I feel like my Twitter presence is kind of like the Digimon guy right now. The guy who's always talking about how the guy who's like the fervent Mimi and Yole shipper, just like talking about Adventure 02 too much.
Yeah, I mean, Adventure 02 doesn't get enough credit.
For sure, yeah.
Needs more defenders.
I'm just like, I'm currently rewatching both. I'm kind of like doing like a simul watch of Tamers and Adventure 02. And it's, I don't know, I think it's really fun to go back and watch Adventure 02 again, because it's been a little while since I've seen the entire show through.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think I kind of like the serialized approach a bit. Just like it's kind of like the episodes are a bit standalone, but they're still like part of the bigger narrative, and I think that's really interesting. There can be like days or weeks in between episodes.
Yeah, like they go home at the end of every episode and like things kind of reset and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's like a really interesting take on it, and I've been really enjoying Tamers too as well. I started watching it in Japanese, but then I don't know, around the I think the Ice Devimon episode of Tamers, when he like captures Rika, I switched to the English dub, and I've kind of like been keeping with the English dub since then, because I feel like I don't know, I the Tamers dub as well seems less jokey. There's just like it doesn't have like the constant puns and jokes of the other seasons.
Yeah, I think it like is still full. It still has lots of jokes. They're just
Yeah.
less at the expense of. It feels less artificial, if that makes sense. Like it.
Yeah. It feels more organic. There's like I don't know. There's this super dumb scene that I'm guessing in Japanese is just like Rika standing looking at a pond, and instead you have like a voiceover of a person going to work on the bus and like, oh, imagine being like that girl, just looking at a pond, having no problems in the world. And that was just like, yes, this is perfect. That's an interesting, and I just like hate the fact it's such a weird thing that she ended up like with a cooking show.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there any dialogue about her cooking? Wasn't there like
Her
something about her
mom,
making?
I mean, I feel like her mom was just like a cook, because she always wore like an apron and was just like the super stereotypical housewife.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of her being a television personality,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
but cooking.
Yeah, it feels strange. And they tried to like retcon it with, or they tried to like explain it with that audio drama about her and her mom cooking food for survivors of 9/11.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, because I think, yeah, because O2 came out in 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they came out with like the audio drama in like 2003 or something to try to like bridge the gap of why some of the characters are acting like differently in O2.
Which is such a weird like a couple years after 9/11 to be like, I guess she was in New York during 9/11, so we need to address that. Like
and it just like it's so vague too. It's just like she and the other Digidestins helped. Like I don't know. It's it just opens the door for so many questions that you shouldn't like. Who even says that 9/11 had to happen in this version of the universe?
yeah, like it's not like that is carried through the continuity otherwise. Like
Exactly. Just like yeah, it's very strange. But yeah, I'm just like right now I'm just counting down the moment until I get the world tour arc of O2. I've always loved that like seeing all the like the international Digidestins. It's kind of like it's a small world version of the world, but it's really like okay, the French Digidestined is in the Versailles. The South American Digidestined is at like an Inca pyramid.
yeah. It's like they all get the one detail of their culture.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
entire thing. I'm pretty excited to visit Zero Two someday, especially compared to like 2020 show, because as good as I think the 2020 show is overall, like we were saying, it doesn't have much like overall character. Whereas like Zero Two is like I feel like is like overflowing with character. Like it's fun, it's wacky. It doesn't really fit together very well, but like it has so much heart.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like okay, I kind of get the gripes about the three new O2 characters not being having as much growth as the adventure characters, but I still feel like I think they're kind of like interesting takes on the tropes of the original characters. Like Davis feels like I don't know, I think his optimism is really fun, and it ends up being like kind of the thing that ends up saving the day when Myotismon catches everyone in their like fantasy universe.
Although Yoli totally should have gotten the crest of knowledge, but
Oh my god, I feel like the only reason Yoli got like sincerity and love is because she's the girl, so she needs to get the girl crest. But I feel like they already subverted that by giving her like she's the only Digidestined like a Digimon that's like the opposite gender expression.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they should have like given her knowledge instead of I think sincerity fits her, but I think love maybe would have been more interesting for Cody because he has like trouble trusting people.
Yeah.
I'm at like the part of the show now where they're kind of like building up for the Shakumon Digimon DNA Digivolution, and he's just like very mistrusting of TK. It's like TK is two different people. He's like mad, and then he's super nice.
Well, yeah, I just remember that them teaming up, feeling like, oh, we're the only ones left. So I mean,
Yeah.
everyone else is hooked up, so I guess we need to hook up too. Like,
it does feel a bit like, yeah. I feel like the other two pairings feel natural.
yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing like, okay, yeah, maybe we could have gotten like Kari and TK, but that would have been like two angels.
That's the kind of thing that feels like old Digimon was too like unique to do the obvious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now I feel like Adventure 2020 would be like, oh yeah, pair up the two angels.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Now we're just gonna get like a super angel.
Yeah.
That's like my biggest wish for the season is getting like an Omnimon for the other kids as well.
Yeah, I really hope for that. Like, as kind of bummed out as I am about like how the show's felt recently, it's like if it's really going for 66 episodes, like I can't really be that bummed because like after getting through this stuff now, like where are we going? It's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What are you like? What's your most like wanted fusion? What's like which characters would you like to fuse the most?
Oh, if like I could pair any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I haven't really thought about it in terms of like designs, but in terms of like characterization of like not really shipping, but like seeing their bond grow, like
Mm-hmm.
Taichi and Koshiro would be fun to like see them because they've always been like a pairing, not a pairing, but like a like close friendship.
Yeah, they've had like it feels like they had like a special bond, and Ty's kind of been like a big brother thing as well. It's like the kind of friend who's just like super outgoing and helps you make other friends.
Yeah, and that like I think it hit me hard early on in the show, like in the first episode where Koshiro is like kind of timid and stuff, but like Taichi is like, his I don't know. I guess he's just very social, like brings him in and is like, no, come in. Like, and it's like, it's sweet seeing like the nerd be like, oh, I can have a friend. I can talk to people. Like,
Yeah, that was just like it. I kind of feel like that characterization of Ty was very like, okay, this is him, but they kind of lost that once they got to the digital world.
mm-hmm.
Like I kind of wish he had that more like almost a bit more like Davis personality of being like super positive and just like upbeat, not necessarily as hot headed, but just like yeah.
Are there any fusions that you would be looking forward to?
I don't know. I feel like the obvious like for me is like I really would want to see what first of all I love to see like Selfimon version of Garudamon or like Bertramon and Gatomon. That would be like with a bit more like a mix of Garuda and Bertramon inspirations with the sort of like same base as Selfimon has.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Or just like Lilymon Garudamon mix would also be very cool. Having like the fire and the plant thing kind of like interesting.
I haven't thought about how the Digimon design work at all, but like it'd be really cool to see Yamato and Joe because like I mean they always historically like they like Yamato's Crisis Evolution episode was kind of about Joe, and in this season we've already kind of gotten like Yamato being so annoyed by Joe that he like, avoids him.
Yeah, he just like keeps walking until Joe falls asleep, and then he gets on the Kakumon.
Yeah, but I can't imagine how would a werewolf or a wolf and a seal, how would they even combine? Like,
I don't know. I think that's kind of like because when you think about it, I feel like the interesting thing about Omnimon isn't really like a mix of Wargreymon. He has like their faces as arms.
Yeah, he's kind of just a Gundam that has their faces as arms.
Yeah, and I feel like the O2 kids, their DNA digivolutions feel like more like a mix between the two Digimon. I mean, I guess except for Shakumon, which is more like mixing the concepts of the Digimon more than like the designs.
Right. That's one that you can like if you look at the concepts and understand or look up a bit of like Japanese lore, then it's like okay, that makes sense. But visually it's confusing.
Yeah, it doesn't like you can't really pick out any like design inspiration, I guess, except for like but it's like it's an ancient. You mix like the ancient elements of Ankylomon with the holy elements of Anjumon. You would get something like Shakumon.
Something that I didn't really realize until I guess it was actually seeing like Dino Beamon in the new card game. Like I didn't realize that Dino Beamon is also a fusion of Stingmon and Xvmon, so it's kind of just like the reverse of Pyldramon. Like
he kind of takes the parts that Pyldramon doesn't have from, like, he has like more the facial structure of Stingmon, and then takes like the arms of Xvmon, I feel like.
oh, it's. I don't know if this is kosher to say, but it's kind of like Stingmon's the top, and with Pyldramon, Xvmon's the top. But
we have. Totally. It's like one of them are like in each version. One of them is like kind of like taking control, I guess.
yeah. But that'd be an interesting concept to like. I don't think it really makes sense for Omegamon or Omnimon because, right, like we were saying, it's not that inspired by the designs. But like, if we got DNA Digivolutions and then also got the reverse ones where it's like the other one in charge or something, that would be cool.
Oh, that would be very cool. I think like I think they could take it a lot further. But I think like you said, with the 66th episode, it feels like there's just a lot of cool ways they can take it.
Yeah. Now that like my biggest concern now is that like that 66 episode count is like completely wrong, and it's going to end at like episode, what are we on, 17 now? Like it's going to end at episode like 22, and then we'll like for all those 20 episodes we're going to be like, I can't wait for 66 episodes, I can't wait, and it's going to
Exactly.
be like, oh, it's over, and we're like, what? Oh,